Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called The Extra Guardian Missed the Right Time to Leave. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! For most, death means the end, but not in Eugenia's case. Hers was simply the beginning of a new life, as a maid in the Marquis Creighton's residence. Eugenia transmigrates into the book The Unforgivable Sin, the book she read before her absurd death. The novel's plot focuses on the protagonist Joshua Creighton's misfortunes and quest for revenge. After the Creighton couple's disappearance, the staff's frustrations over unpaid wages turned toward Joshua and his twin sister Selmia, her nickname, Sherry. They neglected the twins and stopped giving them meals. However, the novel stopped being updated halfway. This means there's an adventure that lies ahead. In the Creighton residence, the hall echoes with whispers, all wondering where the couple went. Eugenia overhears this conversation as she secretly steals precious gems from the estate, fully aware that the couple is dead. Back in the maid's quarter, Eugenia worries. She's been secretly slipping meals to the twins, despite the novel's warning to anyone who helps them die early. She doesn't want to die again. Moments later, all the staff are gathered to hear the royal regent's decree. The Creighton territory will be managed by the duchy's royal court, and all staff are hereby dismissed. The news throws the staff into panic and frustration, but Eugenia sleeps soundly on her bed, unbothered. After all, she has all the gems she stole. The next day, she wakes up to find everything ransacked. She grabs her suitcase to leave, but to her horror, the stolen gems are gone. She decides to rummage around the estate, hoping to find more valuable items to take. Suddenly, a voice speaks out. It's the young master, Joshua Creighton. He asks her if she plans to leave like the rest of the staff. Feeling guilty and cornered, Eugenia tries to run, but Joshua grabs her dress and pulls her back. He has something to say. After a fierce struggle of pulling and resisting, they both sit down. He informs her that the servants took everything of value and expresses his gratitude for giving him and his sister meals. She replies that it is simply her duty as their maid. She attempts to leave, but he angrily slams his palm on the table and scolds her. Realizing his outburst, he apologizes. Eugenia kneels to reassure him and asks him to speak. He tells her that the duchy knights will take them and they need her help. With a heavy heart, he asks Eugenia to be their guardian. The request leaves Eugenia frozen, unable to process what Joshua just said. She can't fulfill such a request. He asks her to take him and Sherry along, knowing she plans to run away. She sighs. His request shows how desperate he is. Instead of making excuses, she reveals the hardships of taking care of them. She needs a substantial amount of money to support them, but she hasn't received her salary for months, leaving her completely penniless. She bows and apologizes to the young master. The person who needs to care for them is Eileen Blair. In the novel, she's a governess for the Creighton family, creating a bond between the twins. A few months later, she was dismissed and became a caretaker of an elderly lady. But after hearing the troubling news about the Creighton family, she rushes to check on the children. Supposedly, her arrival is the day of Eugenia's leave. Not wanting to interfere with the original storyline, she attempts to leave. But before she can, she hears the ringing bells. This means her death. She urges Joshua to come with her, but he clings on to a pillar, confused and unwilling to leave. She confronts him about his secret hiding spot and demands to know where it is. Joshua seizes the moment and makes her promise to become their guardian. She has no choice. She promises to become their guardian, and his eyes light up with hope. He grabs her hand and leads her to his secret hideout. They arrive in front of a brick wall below the staircase. He proudly shows her their hideout with scattered toys and food. Eugenia is lost in her thoughts, relieved she made it back in time, and waiting for Eileen to arrive. Joshua snaps her back to reality and scolds her. Suddenly, Sherry groans in pain. He holds her hand and tells Eugenia about the promise he made to care for Sherry before his parents disappeared. Eugenia knows it's just a story, but it breaks her heart to see the children suffering. If she were reborn as a noble, she could help the children. But no, she's reborn as a maid. She steps back, and Joshua quickly holds onto her dress to stop her from running away. Poor child! Eugenia kneels down, assuring him she won't run away. She only stepped away to avoid waking Sherry up. They both sit against the wall. She chuckles, finding him cute, which catches him off guard and makes him shy. She doesn't want to interfere with the story, so stepping away feels like the right choice. She patiently waits for Eileen's arrival, but why hasn't she come yet? She anxiously waits in the night, wondering if she'll ever come. Her mind is filled with worry. Should she leave the kids? But what if something happens? She doesn't want to die again. She turns to Joshua, asking if he has anything worth of value. He does, but he's not giving it away for free. From his mother's jewelry, he gives her a locket, a ring, and a ribbon with gems. She can't possibly take these. It's a keepsake from their parents. Not to mention, the locket has the twins' pictures. It'll only stir more trouble if she sells it. Seeing Eugenia's worried face, he asks her to take him to the Duke of Harris in the Aisha Empire. They both agree, locking their pinky fingers with each other's. Suddenly, he takes out a written contract and makes her sign. She carefully reads the contract. 1 million gold as penalty? Her face turns pale and her jaw drops. She reluctantly signs after being guilt-tripped by Joshua. Her eyes sharpen as she grins and hands him the contract. She has her own conditions. She wants him to call her sister. He unwillingly agrees. In the village, they disguise themselves and sell everything from the mansion. Sherry calls out for Shushu, Joshua's nickname. In the novel, the assassin recognizes the twins and kills Eileen. That's why she dyes her hair black and insists on using their nicknames. They look so cute with their black hair. Eugenia attempts to leave, but Joshua stops her, asking where she's going. He's not letting his guard down. She explains that she needs to find a job since they didn't earn much from selling things. Sherry clings to her tightly, not wanting her to leave. But Eugenia promises to buy her lemon-flavored candy if she quietly waits for her. In despair, she worries about finding a job and caring for the children. She arrives at the job placement agency, hoping to find a suitable job. She carefully scans each job post. Vegetable peeling? No. Grocery delivery? No. Suddenly, a paper catches her eye. A job looking for a maid to the Aisha Empire. She slams the paper on the desk, scaring the job placement agent. Intrigued, he planned to take that specific job post down since nobody had applied for a month. She arrives at a big brown cabin looking for Mr. Elbury. A lady assists her and congratulates her if she gets hired. She loudly knocks at the door and yells for Mr. Elbury, frightening Eugenia. The door opens. A green-haired man with glasses and a tired expression opens the door. Mr. Elbury invites Eugenia for the interview, but this room is quite a mess. She sits down and he begins questioning her. She's determined to get the job. He points out that she stands out, as most applicants shied away due to the border crossing to the Aisha Empire. She adds that she also has important business to do there. She anticipates more questions, but he joyfully informs her she's hired. Hesitant, she asks him if it's possible to increase the number of companions since she has siblings to bring along. She assures him that they're old enough. However, he isn't the one to decide. It's his superior. Wasn't he the employer? He leads her to his superior's room, warning her not to pry with his superior's identity. Eugenia finds it odd. Why hasn't anybody passed yet? She nervously waits while he knocks on the door. He pushes her in the dark room. Is the employer a child of darkness? Why are the curtains closed? Suddenly, a voice speaks, guiding her to take 4 steps forward to sit. She takes his advice and sits. She introduces herself, not knowing who she's talking to, and asks for the employer's name. It's Enrique. She apologizes for requesting that her 2 siblings accompany her on the job. She explains her siblings need a doctor and is willing to receive a low salary if he agrees. He lights a candle and Eugenia catches a glimpse of him. Captivated by his beauty, she gets nervous as he approaches. To him, she seems familiar, but who? He insists that she looks familiar. Moments later, he realizes she's a child abductor. Shocked, she defends herself, but knowing she has a bounty on her head, he refuses to work with her. She clenches her fists and her body tensing up. Does he know she took the Creighton twins? Before she leaves, she asks for time before he reports her since she has younger siblings. He interrupts her with a request. He won't report her if she keeps their business a secret from the outside world. He doesn't want to be tangled in troublesome and annoying matters. She agrees and leaves. What are they hiding? She sighs in relief and bids farewell to Mr. Elbury. He seems more disappointed about not working with her than she is. They say their goodbyes and he storms into Enrique's room. He scolds him for his nitpicky attitude, but Enrique explains she has a bounty on her head, leaving him in shock. Annoyed, he covers his ears, refusing to believe she's a kidnapper. Enrique explains hiring her comes with significant risks. However, they need to leave Hallrent immediately, but the border is closed. Ever since the dethroned Crown Prince's whereabouts are unknown, the border has been conducting tedious inspections. It will only arouse suspicions between Enrique and Elbury. The best solution is guiding a noble's excursion, but they need to serve it with them. Enrique adds that Eugenia's bounty is high, to the point her wanted posters reached a remote village. This can mean the person after her wields considerable power. Exactly. A smirk appears on Elbury's face and asks to speak up. He tries to convince Enrique to hire Eugenia while giving him her paper. He crumples the paper. Wasn't he listening to what he just said? Elbury explains that a wanted criminal will be careful with her words and actions. They don't have time for more delays. After all, Enrique never fails a mission. Enrique gives in, making Elbury jump with joy. They're off to find Eugenia. I wonder what mission they're on to. Back in the job agency, Eugenia sees her wanted poster. She truly is a criminal. But why wasn't the twins' information mentioned in the poster? Whatever the reason, she needs to hide. Before she leaves, she overhears two men talking about the crown prince on a wanted poster, Sigil Halront. She leaves in the rain, but forgets to buy lemon-flavored candy. She hesitates. It's risky to keep wandering, but she finds a candy seller anyways. Enrique and Elbury arrive at the job agency, asking for Eugenia's resume. But to their disappointment, she's not registered. Enrique and Elbury argue, but the agent interrupts, saying she just left 10 minutes ago after asking about another job. They have no time to waste. They quickly leave the agency. In the dark streets, Eugenia turns back. Two men knock her out. They argue over splitting the bounty as one takes the pouch from her hands. Suddenly, she wakes up and punches him in the eye. She runs out of the alley and bumps into a man. She tries to run away, but the man holds her arm. She panics and attacks him, but he tells her to calm down. It's Enrique. She demands to know if he's with the other men, reminding him he wouldn't report her. The men catch up, warning Enrique they had business with Eugenia first. Enrique embraces Eugenia and draws his gun. The men laugh, thinking it's just a toy, until Enrique pulls the trigger and shoots one in the arm, sending them into a panic. Eugenia is lost in her thoughts. Why is he looking for her? Why does he have a gun and a silencer on hand? He asks if she knows what a silencer is. To his surprise, she has knowledge about new weapons only few are aware of. She expresses her gratitude, thanking him while they walk out of the alley. He tells her he's there to hire her and he'll explain everything on the way. In the thunderous night, he informs her she's suitable for the position. Not to mention, Elbury was so insistent. She gladly takes the opportunity and will do what Enrique says. He turns back to Eugenia and asks her to be his wife, leaving her speechless. Oh my goodness, what? I'm also speechless. He explains the situation. Few people are crossing the border and exits to other countries might completely close. The least suspicious way is to pose as a family with her twin siblings. She'll only act as his wife during inspections. Seeing this doable job, she agrees. Enrique tells her he'll wait for her at the inn before they part ways. Before she greets the twins, she takes a moment to compose herself after her near-death experience outside the door. Trembling, she opens the door and greets the twins. Sherry excitedly greets her and asks about the candy. She apologizes to Sherry that the candy got wet, but Sherry doesn't seem to care. Joshua notices her hands with scratches and begins to worry. He scolds her and tells her to be careful. Curious, Joshua asks if she's working with the man he saw from the window and if he's trustworthy, but she doesn't know his background, which makes Joshua scold her more. Sherry defends Eugenia and both playfully tease Joshua, making him angry and sulk. He acts like a grown-up, but in the end, he's still a child. Eugenia bends down, assuring him she won't break their promise. She tells the twins that they need to leave the principality with her employer immediately. As they start packing, Eugenia remembers. She forgot to mention she's going to have a husband, which makes Joshua turn pale. It's so cute how Joshua is so protective over Eugenia. What does she mean by a husband? Sherry joyfully congratulates Eugenia, asking if her fiancé is tall, rich, and handsome. Confused, Joshua butts in. He thought she was looking for a job. Eugenia explains the situation again. To escape the Empire, they must pose as a family for a few days. She urges them to follow the plan and be careful. They agree and tightly embrace her. After a while, Enrique and Elbury arrive at Eugenia's room door. She and the twins open the door. Elbury is relieved to see their jet black hair color that matches with Enrique's, increasing the chances they'll pass as a real family. Eugenia invites them in, and Elbury is pleased to meet the children. Joshua doesn't like the idea of becoming Enrique's child. Enrique talks to Joshua, asking him if it's all right, but he's not comfortable. Enrique provokes him by saying he has no patience, pushing him to give in to the father-son role. Enrique provokes him by saying he has no patience, pushing him to give in to the father-son role. He deals with children like a pro. As it starts to get late, Eugenia urges the children to introduce themselves. Sherry happily introduces herself and bows. Joshua, however, is reluctant. He doesn't want to say his nickname. Eugenia guilt-trips him by pretending to leave him behind, forcing him to introduce himself. Moments later, he introduces himself as Shushu. Elbury adores him, finding his nickname cute, but Joshua finds him annoying. They start to head out, with Enrique carrying their suitcases, leaving both Eugenia's hands open for the twins to hold onto. Back in the cabin, the twins take a liking to the room. Enrique and Elbury leave them to unpack and ask Eugenia to see them afterwards. As they walk through the hallways, they point out her relationship with the children. If she really was a kidnapper, the children wouldn't be following her like that. This led them to conclude that they don't need to investigate her further, and they're finally relieved they can leave Harland. A few moments later, someone knocks at their door. It's Eugenia and the twins. Unpacking was quick since they didn't have much stuff. Joshua insists on participating in the meeting, saying he has enough qualifications to join, but Elbury doesn't mind. He invites everyone in. In the meeting, they assign their roles. Eugenia and Enrique as a couple, Joshua and Sherry as the children, and Elbury as the servant and coachman. Enrique suggests changing the names of the children, but they already agreed in using their nicknames. Eugenia, on the other hand, needs a new name. She suggests using the name Hari, and none of them seem to oppose it. Enrique is counting on Hari from now on, and they shake hands. Eugenia never thought she'd be using that name again, making her feel awkward about it. Could Hari be her name before she transmigrated? Curious, he wonders if Hari is her nickname. Not quite, but she assures him she'll respond right away. It was her name in her past life. She starts to drift into her thoughts, wondering how old she was. She quickly snaps back to reality when Enrique calls her Hari, testing if she'll respond like what she said. Elbury will be preparing ID cards for everybody in the meantime. Joshua finds it awkward calling Eugenia Hari, but she assures him he'll get used to it with time. Suddenly, a loud noise can be heard. Could it be the people after her? She tenses up and hugs the children. Elbury opens the door, and to his surprise, it's the housekeeper. She's come to inform him that she can't cook them dinner, since she burnt her arm. She lends them the kitchen instead, but Elbury doesn't know how to cook. With a sigh of relief, Eugenia offers to cook for everyone. She then asks them what they want to eat. Sherry gives a whole menu of food. Joshua cuts her off, telling her to pick one food. After a brief pause, she settles on pancakes with a mountain of whipped cream. In the kitchen, Eugenia feels nervous that Enrique is helping her out. He surprises her with his incredible cooking skills, whipping up a delicious feast. As they eat, Joshua can't help but ask about the real reason for the borders closing. Enrique explains that the Duchy of Holland divided into two factions. Benjamin, the illegitimate son, severed his ties with his half-brother Crown Prince Sigil. Benjamin seizes the throne, making him the regent while Sigil becomes a fugitive. Eugenia turns pale. The missing duke and his wife don't belong to either faction. What if Joshua realizes this? Fugitive numbers rise, so border checks tighten. The best way to use Enrique and Elbury's Aisha Empire identity badges is to disguise themselves as a family. From then on, they too will become citizens of the Aisha Empire. Their act will center on Hari's dead father as a reason to get into the Aisha Empire. Elbury informs Eugenia that they'll be meeting with the higher-ups and she must look like a noblewoman as Enrique's wife. The biggest challenge is obtaining jewels, just as important as wedding rings. Eugenia tells them not to worry. She has heirlooms given by her parents. She then excuses herself and speaks privately with Joshua. Nervous, she asks if she can borrow his parents' brooch and pendant for the time being to pass as Enrique's wife. Seeing her uneasy expression, he agrees to lend them to her. She hugs Joshua and promises to return it, but he shyly pulls away and asks her to be careful. I really love Joshua's personality. He's so kind and protective of Eugenia. In the fabric store, Enrique and Eugenia are greeted by the excited designer. He proudly boasts the rare and best quality fabrics from his store. He asks her why she's looking for mourning clothes, but this makes Eugenia emotional and starts bawling her eyes out as part of their act. Enrique calls him rude for his statement. She shares that her father recently passed away and she wishes to mourn him until her grief subsides. Enrique comforts her while holding her hand in front of the designer. With a remorseful look, the designer apologizes for his unforgivable offense and orders his workers to bring clothes and fabrics. Moments later, he brings mourning-colored fabrics of the highest quality. The workers take out a measuring tape, leaving Eugenia anxious. The clothes underneath her robe don't look noble at all. Enrique interferes, saying taking her measurements won't be necessary. The designer warns that it may not fit her properly, but Enrique adds that she's carrying their third child, so a looser fit will be just fine. This catches Eugenia off guard. This isn't part of the script, but she handles it smoothly. He puts on a sweet, excited act about their baby, leaving her flustered but playing along. The designer leaves to wrap the clothes and fabric. Once they are alone, Eugenia scolds him for the unexpected act. Enrique shares his startle when tears fall down her face. He stands up, takes Eugenia's hand, and compliments her. He tells her he's counting on her, making her feel nervous. Still, she smiles and replies that she's counting on him too. Back in the cabin, Elbury received the identification cards early, but couldn't get the marriage certificate. The craftsman also wanted to leave Hallrent and join them. However, Enrique has his conditions. The craftsman must leave the same day as them and part ways after reaching the gates. If not, he can return without giving the marriage certificates. Eugenia greets the twins, informing them they'll leave tomorrow. Joshua bombards her with questions, but she tells him to change into sleepwear clothes, but he dislikes the design. The twins sleep, but Eugenia can't. She stares at the brooch on her hand. She heads to the balcony, where she finds Enrique training. She watches him until he notices and asks why she's still awake. She explains, then quickly leaves. I hope he doesn't think she was sneaking up on him. The next day, everyone with the craftsman is ready to depart, but something feels off. Something seems off with the craftsman. Enrique tells Eugenia that he and Elbury will travel on horseback beside the carriage. If needed, she can open the window to call them. They travel until they reach the gate of the Aisha Empire. Enrique introduces themselves as nobles of the Aisha Empire, but this doesn't give them a pass from inspection. The captain asks for his identification badge, Baron Enrique Tricent. He interrogates him, asking what brought him to Hallrent. He came to get his wife and children. The captain inspects the carriage and interrogates Eugenia. He asks her about her years of marriage and her maiden name, Hari Laughlin. Lastly, he requests to remove her hat for identification purposes. Eugenia freezes. Her body tenses up, clenching her dress out of anxiety. Does she have to remove it? Don't they treat people in mourning clothes with more caution? They're searching for the crown prince consort, so why are they trying to verify her identity? The twins notice her expression and call for her attention. She apologizes and turns to the captain, asking if he'll be responsible for what happens next if she takes it off. This confuses him. He shows no respect after verifying her identification badge and demands to speak with someone of higher rank. She'll report him for his rudeness and take off the hat. This puts the guards into a panic. Their superior is the Lord, who'll surely scold them for summoning him. Out of fear, they finish the inspection and let them pass. Eugenia lets out a sigh of relief as they enter the Empire. At last, they enter the Empire. Enrique stops the carriage and confronts the coachman. It's time to part ways. Suddenly, the coachman flicks the reins and the carriage runs off. The sudden speed puts Eugenia and the twins into a panic, holding each other tightly. What is going on? She doesn't see Enrique and Elbury, leading her to conclude the coachman took off. She needs to protect the twins. Enrique and Elbury chase after the carriage. He draws out his gun, ready to pull the trigger, but sees Eugenia clinging outside the carriage door. They both panic and tell her to get inside. She needs to protect the kids first. Hesitant and scared, she gets in. Enrique pulls the trigger, causing the carriage to lose a wheel and tumble over. He checks on Eugenia and the twins. He leaves them with Elbury and sees the coachman unconscious. He was bribed. Angry, he wonders how their plan was leaked. Suddenly, Eugenia panics. Sherry has collapsed. It better not be that housekeeper lady who told the coachman. She needs to do something. Eugenia hands Sherry to Elbury and searches through the bushes. A fruit. She asks Sherry to open her mouth, letting a drop of the fruit's juice fall onto her tongue. She points out its sweet, delicious taste, making Joshua's hands tremble with anger. He yells at her for being a sweet tooth, then breaks down in worry. The shock must have been too much for her. Eugenia stands up and Enrique calls her attention in a serious tone. He needs to speak with her. His expression grows furious and scolds her. What was she thinking of getting outside the carriage? She explains herself, planning to use her self-defense power against the coachman. But he didn't mean that. He scolds her further, asking if she didn't trust him to go after them. She becomes guilty. She thought Enrique no longer needed her, so she took matters into her own hands. He reminds her of the contract to accompany him to the Aisha Empire, not just escaping Hallrent. She never should have signed the contract if she couldn't trust him. She apologizes. It isn't her intention to offend him. To herself, she isn't an important person. After all, she is just a side character in the story, but since she took Eileen's place, she believes she'd have to sacrifice her life to protect the twins, just like Eileen in the original story. Enrique comforts her with his words, telling her she's important. He reminds her of the weight of being a guardian and she must take it seriously. She then realizes she's been acting foolishly. Before they go back, he lends her his handkerchief, bandaging her palm filled with scabs. Everyone mounts their horses, but Eugenia struggles to climb on. Enrique helps her climb on, holding her waist and lifting her up. They lock eyes and she's red as a tomato. Joshua notices and asks her if she's okay. "It's just the weather," she says. In the forest, they build a fire. Enrique and Elbury will take turns in keeping watch while they sleep. Eugenia and the twins on the sleeping bags. Good thing she brought sleeping supplies. Before she drifts to sleep, she organizes her tasks for tomorrow, including checking up on the twins. As she sleeps, the gem on the brooch begins to glow and a melody plays, whispering that she must wait for the day she'll be repaid. Whoa, what does that mean? Was someone singing in her sleep? Half asleep, she wakes up and sees Enrique awake. He's keeping watch while Elbury scouts. She sits beside him and offers to take his place, but he refuses. Lying down doesn't guarantee he'll fall asleep. She realizes he suffers from insomnia. She rummages in her suitcase, taking out mint oil and dried mint leaves. She brews it into tea for him to relieve fatigue and insomnia. She further asks him if he experiences headaches often, which is true. He offers to repay her kindness, but she refuses. It's a simple gift of friendship. He gladly accepts the gift and promises to make good use of it. As the night falls, they pass time by talking about her knowledge of herbalism, even though she never formally studied it. This sparks Enrique's curiosity about her. She comments about his curiosity, but he simply says it's good to have a meaningful conversation. She talks about her life before her herbalist father passed away. He never taught her anything about plants, nor would he let her near them. One day, all the knowledge just clicked in her head. Hearing this made them chuckle. It doesn't make any sense. She begins to drift in her thoughts, remembering the time she got lost in the forest. 2 or 3 days later, she was found in the deepest part of the forest with animals around her. It was a strange experience, but she believes that was the time she acquired herbal knowledge. Enrique interrupts her thoughts, asking what she's thinking about. She replies about wanting to become a pharmacist. Enrique tells her that the Empire has rare plants and herbs, encouraging her to pursue the course. Dawn broke and morning came. Sherry's in a better condition. Joshua is learning about horseback riding from Enrique, and Eugenia still struggles to ride a horse. They travel until they reach the Aisha Empire. Eugenia assures Enrique she'll do a better job as they reach the checkpoint, but he advises her not to push herself as everything will soon be over. The guards check her identification card and ask for her husband's identification card. Enrique hands it over, complimenting the guards for their hard work. Before the guard could say anything else, he notices the identification card and proceeds to bow. The guard expresses how honored he is to meet Enrique. This leaves Eugenia confused as they enter the Empire. Are we finally going to find out his true identity? As Eugenia dries Sherry's wet hair, she notices her natural hair color is starting to show. For now, they must endure it while waiting for her salary. At the inn's dining hall, the twins remark on the delicious food, and Eugenia notices Enrique wearing gloves. Enrique then asks the kids to head upstairs, explaining that the adults need to have a discussion. Joshua refuses, but Eugenia gives him a glare, promising him she'll tell him when she gets back. Reluctantly, the twins head back to their room, leaving Eugenia at the table with Enrique and Elbury. Enrique tells Eugenia that they must now part ways. She didn't expect it to be so soon. Somehow she feels sad about it. She asks about her wanted posters, but Enrique tells her not to worry. Eugenia returns her identification card, and Enrique returns her pendant. He then gives her a brown pouch. It's her salary. He reminds her not to overspend or underspend. After a brief pause, he asks if she could walk with him for a bit. They walk towards a tree on top of a hill outside the inn. While she's amazed by the trees, Enrique grows suspicious of her knowledge about guns, planning to report her when he returns to the capital. Enrique, please don't! He asks her about guns and whether she can use one. Startled, she explains she's never used one and questions him, but he avoids admitting his suspicion. Instead, he offers her a gun for self-defense, but she refuses. He gives her a black card, but she's hesitant, unsure if she's allowed to take it. She asks when to return it, but he doesn't mind what date. As a marker, she makes a tower out of stone, assuring no one will break something so beautiful. Before the day ends, she sincerely thanks Enrique once again. They shake hands and go their separate ways. Back at the inn, Joshua waits for her. She apologizes for the delay as she was seeing someone off. Joshua feels sad. He didn't get to bid them farewell. She returns his brooch and pendant, but suddenly the gems start to glow. A voice echoes, asking when she's coming. She turns to Joshua, asking if he said something, but he hasn't, nor did Sherry in her sleep. She swears she heard something, just like in her dream. Joshua teases her, saying old people tend to mishear things. She's not that old, she's only 21. Moments later, she tucks Joshua to bed and they drift to sleep. The next day, they run some errands to get by in the Empire. Eugenia spots Joshua taking an interest in the swords, wishing she could buy it for him. She calls his attention and they head to the village information center. Once they arrive, she buys an Aisha Empire map to find their way around the duchy. After purchasing the map, Sherry runs around, making Eugenia and Joshua to scold her at the same time. They're saying the same thing at the same time. They all chuckle realizing this. Back in bed, they look through the map. If they go to the Duchy of Harris, they will meet the twins' grand aunt there. Sherry asks if they'll be taking a carriage to arrive, but remembering what happened before, riding a carriage won't be a good idea. They will travel by train. Excited, they express their joy in traveling comfortably. Eugenia feels proud of herself. Once she delivers the kids to their grand aunt, her mission will be done. Suddenly, a wave of sadness hits her. She'll be all alone. She brushes off the feeling and tucks the twins into bed. They'll surely miss you, Eugenia. The next day, at the train station, the twins stare at the trainman, frightened by their appearance. The conductor assures that despite their looks, they're only there to escort them. Their looks? He leads them to their room in the train and settle in. Once they leave, Eugenia won't have connection with Enrique anymore. She spaces out while looking out the window, wondering when she'll see him again. At last, they arrive at the Harris Duchy. Amazed, they love the cold weather of the north. Joshua asks if they're heading straight to the duchy directly, but they first need to prepare to meet the matron. They head to an inn and start unpacking. While unpacking, Eugenia finds Enrique's handkerchief. She forgot to return it. Should she bury it with the black card? A wave of sadness hits her. If she returns it, she won't have any remembrance of him. She reminds herself not to be sad. After all, she still has a year left to finish her job. Joshua yells her name multiple times, asking what they'll do next. She apologizes. She needs to step out for a moment and asks them to wait for her. Sherry wants to go with her, but Eugenia advises against it. She needs to check something out first, but she promises to return as soon as possible. Sherry understands and follows. Before she rushes to leave, Joshua sermons her before leaving. After she leaves, Joshua calls Sherry's attention. He has something to discuss with her about Eugenia. This sparks Sherry's curiosity, but Joshua makes her promise to keep it a secret. Oh, I wonder what they're talking about. After a while, Eugenia returns in high spirits. She bought hair supplies. It's time to wash out their hair dye. But her excited expression fades when she sees the twins upset. Eventually, they wash off their dye, their expressions still gloomy. Sherry admits she doesn't like her hair color. She attempts to admit something, but Joshua angrily stops her. The air feels tense. Did they have a fight while she was gone? Moments later, Eugenia sits down with Joshua, telling him they won't be able to head to Harris Estate directly. The Duke and the matron are in the Harris Estate, but they don't receive any visitors when all the branches of the family gather. Even the Emperor can't visit them. What should she do? Eugenia sends a letter addressed to Jacqueline Harris, the matron, to return 2 missing lilies. However, it seems unlikely to hear from her before the family event ends. Joshua understands the situation. As a solution, she'll work as a maid at the Harris Estate, but it will take some time. If it means meeting his grand aunt, he won't mind how long it'll take. He gives her the brooch and pendant. She tells him that those jewels aren't the ones the Marchioness inherited from her family, so the matron won't even recognize it. Annoyed, he cuts a small amount of blue hair and gives it to Eugenia. The matron will definitely recognize his blue hair. He assures Eugenia that it will grow back and promises not to cut it again. With determination, Eugenia promises to show the matron his hair. In despair, she bends down on the ground, disappointed that all jobs have been filled. She should have brought a recommendation letter. She looks at the Harris Estate on the mountaintop, wondering how she will enter. She plans to go to the herb shop as she shivers in the cold. As she walks, she tries to remember what else she needs. Suddenly, a commotion catches her attention. She turns back, seeing a familiar man in a hooded coat. There is no way she has seen him before. He also looks familiar to me, too. Could he be the fugitive prince? The man explains that his master insisted that he wanted the mulberry chi herb, but the seller tries to sell him heckin herb instead, as they have the same effect. He takes a moment, but the seller doesn't wait. He walks away. The man stops him from walking away, insisting he will buy heckin. Eugenia stops the man from receiving it, telling him that heckin is not as effective as mulberry chi. Assuming his master has arthritis symptoms, she explains further. Drying and grinding mulberry chi into pills is a remedy that reduces arthritis pain. Heckin may look similar, but it's a different herb. If his employer is consistent in taking mulberry chi, taking heckin will only worsen his condition. This information angers the seller as he's been harvesting herbs for 20 years. Eugenia confronts the seller. For his 20 years of harvesting, he doesn't have much knowledge about herbs, or he was trying to scam people to make a profit. She threatens him by verifying the information to a nearby medicine shop. She further threatens him by reporting him to the police, making him flee the scene. She turns to the hooded man, offering him help to the herb shop. After accompanying him, she advises him to visit a pharmacist or an affiliated herb shop instead of street vendors. It may be pricey, but it's much safer. He notices her accent and asks if she's from the principality. This frightens her. Does he know about her bounty? She tries to leave, but he wants to show his gratitude for helping him out. He grabs and stops her. He quickly realizes his action and apologizes. Although she did him a small favor, it helped him a lot. He insists on showing his gratitude to her. He's so persistent that she can't refuse. He shares that he works for the Duke of Harris. The Duke? This is the opportunity. She admits she's having trouble finding a job and asks if, it's not too much to ask, he could help her get one at the Duke's estate. He happily agrees and asks her to meet with him 2 days later at noon. Eugenia's face gleams with excitement and hope. She realizes this and composes herself. After a while, they exchange names. Hesitant, he introduces himself as Scion while kissing her hand. Enrique and Elbury arrive at Horn, the capital of the Aisha Empire. As they pass through the Empire's hall, Enrique sees yellow flowers, reminding him of Eugenia. Elbury tries to catch his attention. When he does, he mentions their tiring journey, wishing Eugenia had been with them to make it less exhausting. Enrique meets with His Majesty, the Duke, who's delighted to see him. Enrique, the captain of Sharton, delivers his report. He successfully smuggled him out and is under secure protection. He will bring him to His Majesty after a while. Oh, who is the he's talking about? Who did he smuggle out? He continues in disappointment, reporting that he couldn't locate the emblem of the late Grand Duke because his allies were killed, leaving its whereabouts unknown. But after observing the movements of the capital of Helrand, that person didn't find the emblem either. I wonder who he's talking about. His Majesty assures him that there's nothing to worry about. It signifies their allies hid it in a difficult place. He asks for more reports. Enrique feels hesitant to tell him about Eugenia's gun, but decides to stay silent. Instead, he asks for a request. He would like to retire. His Majesty sighs. It's been 3 years since he first requested his retirement. The Sharton unit's elite strength is too valuable to let it go so easily. He dismisses Enrique, telling him they'll revisit this matter after his return. Then, they both take their leave. Back in the village, Scion happily shares the news that Eugenia can work in the laundry room. She jumps with joy, thanking him for taking her questions seriously. She can be interviewed by the head maid after they drink their tea. There's no time to waste. She gulps her tea at once and hurriedly walks out. Scion tries to catch up. She accidentally bumps into a man and stumbles into Scion's chest. He asks her if she's all right, but she quickly rushes off. They arrive at Duke Harris's estate. She needs to do well in the interview. Scion shows her around the annex and knocks on the head maid's office. She opens the door and introduces herself as Leia. Before inviting Eugenia in, she tells Scion that the butler was looking for him. Scion smiles at Eugenia. Is that a congratulatory message? Leia repeats herself and Scion leaves. Leia asks for her recommendation letter since she mentioned working as a maid in a noble household. She explains she didn't receive one because she left in a hurry. She knows it's going to be difficult because a recommendation letter is a must when you work for a noble. Leia sighs and becomes honest with Eugenia. Hiring her would be seen as favoritism as the recruitment ended 2 months ago, but Scion pleaded with her to open a position, putting her in a tough spot. However, she offers her a temporary position until the end of the growth season and gives her the contract. She happily signs and accepts. She must arrive early in the morning tomorrow. The twins wake up early to see Eugenia off. She kisses Sherry and leans in to kiss Joshua, but he firmly refuses, prompting Eugenia to call him stingy. Before she leaves, Joshua reminds her to take care of herself and not to talk back to her superiors. He's always worrying about her. She steps out and takes a deep breath, asking Enrique to give her strength while she holds his handkerchief. OMG, this scene makes me feel giddy. Outside the estate, the maids gather to meet Eugenia, but their expression suggests she's not welcome. Eugenia approaches an orange-haired girl, asking what she'll do. She gives her a basket of clothes to wash, warning her not to damage them. She places the clothes in an empty basin and starts washing. She overhears the other maid's excitement about the master coming and his beauty. She thinks to herself, can there be anybody to match Enrique's good looks? She then goes back to washing. After a long day, she greets the twins and Joshua carries the bag she's carrying. It's ingredients for her hand cream. After she changes, she gets to work. She mixes the ingredients according to the measurements. The next day, Eugenia greets every maid and lets them try her hand cream. The orange-haired maid tries it, amazed. The cream makes her rough hand so smooth. She asks where she bought it, only to learn she made it herself. This sparks curiosity among the other maids, who begin to introduce themselves to Eugenia. No one can resist her charm. A few days later, Eugenia hangs the sheets, and to her surprise, Scion visits her. Jenny, the orange-haired maid, interrupts them, giggling about their interaction. Scion offers her a bag of cookies and tells Eugenia to share it with the rest. He informs her that members of the Harris Dukedom branch family members will arrive soon, and everyone is to gather at the front entrance. He takes his leave, and Jenny teases her about Scion, wondering what relationship she has with Scion. But Eugenia denies all her assumptions. She remembers the moment she accidentally stumbled into Scion's chest and quickly brushes it off. At the entrance, Eugenia plans to meet with Madame Matriarch. But how can she? Jenny calls her attention, teasing her that Scion is looking at her. She looks at him, and he sneaks a wink. Suddenly, she notices the maid in charge of the Madame Matriarch's clothing and bedding, Amy, who appears to be troubled. Eugenia asks her if something's wrong and offers to help. Her parents are visiting a day early, and she has a lot of work to finish. This is Eugenia's chance. Eugenia offers to take over her work, and her face lights up with hope. She promises to repay Eugenia's kindness. Suddenly, the family arrives. He asks the butler if His Grace has returned, but he will soon arrive from the capital. He wonders what business is keeping him busy in the capital when he should be grooming his heir. The butler assures him that His Grace is aware. The butler offers to escort him, and he takes his leave to pay his respect to Her Highness. The head maid dismisses everyone to return to their work. It seems like the master doesn't have a good relationship with his branch family. Eugenia starts washing the Madame Matriarch's sheets, leaving her exhausted. Nervous, she takes out Enrique's handkerchief with Joshua's hair. Before she slips it into her sheets, she asks for Enrique's help. She needs to succeed. The next day, Leia angrily calls out for Amy, demanding to know why she slipped something strange into Her Highness's sheets, leaving Amy confused. This is exactly what Eugenia wanted. She interrupts and admits she accidentally left her belongings in Her Highness's sheets. She asks Leia if she has seen what was inside. She did. Leia takes Eugenia to Her Highness and advises her to apologize. She follows. She can finally meet the Madame Matriarch, Jacqueline Hannah Harris, and the children's grand aunt. She was the head lady of the Harris ducal household for a long time. They arrive at the conservatory where Her Highness is taking tea. Eugenia apologizes for her disrespectful act, explaining her urgent matter to discuss with Her Highness. Patient, Her Highness hears her out. Her Highness explains the pale blue color is from her family origin, manifesting as a genetic throwback. She adds that only her and her brother carried it in their generation. I thought she'd grow furious at her, but I guess I'm wrong. But after his brother had children, it also appeared in her niece, but to her knowledge, she passed away. Eugenia explains that the individuals she brought are the twins of the Marchioness of Creighton's. Her great-niece and great-nephew are alive. Stunned, she has no words. Is she doubting her words, or is she hesitating? Eugenia falls to the ground, worried. The children aren't from a formal branch family, so she might not take them in. She pleads with her, explaining that the children had asked a maid like herself for help, without complaint. She looks away. This whole time she thought the children were dead. She ordered someone to investigate, but it was too late. She takes out the letter Eugenia had sent. She never understood what it meant. Then she turns to Eugenia and orders her to bring the children the next day, without drawing any attention. If she's deceived, she will not forgive her. Eugenia smiles, thanking her wholeheartedly. In the middle of the night, Eugenia finishes crafting the twins' pendants. Originally, Joshua had asked her for a pendant, but she was so busy she forgot. The gems begin to glow, whispering it's ready, but Eugenia doesn't notice. She turns to the twins who are sleeping. She sighs. Once she leaves, she won't see the children anymore. Before she sleeps, she tucks them in one last time. The next day, everyone is in high spirits at breakfast. She gives them the pendant she crafted and hints out that they need new outfits. Joshua notices her strange behavior and grows suspicious. As they eat, Eugenia realizes how nice it is to have breakfast with them, if only time moved slowly. After breakfast, Eugenia takes them to a boutique. Knowing how expensive the boutique is, Joshua wishes to leave and offers to go to a market instead. Eugenia doesn't want to use her illegal method, but she has no choice. She orders Sherry to grab him and order they escort Joshua into the boutique. The designer greets them and starts taking their measurements. After a while, they're dressed in baby blue outfits. Amazed, Eugenia boosts their confidence by giving compliments. Joshua approaches Eugenia, telling her the place is too expensive. But Eugenia explains that from now on, they must wear proper clothes. They're finally meeting their grand aunt. Joshua is so considerate and mature for his age. Their eyes fill up with hope and excitement. Eugenia tells them to be polite and she'll be escorting them to the Duchy of Harris. Lastly, she thanks them for following her without complaint, leaving the twins worried. In the evening, Eugenia formally escorts the twins to the conservatory where their grand aunt is waiting. They seem to be nervous. The twins greet their grand aunt and introduce themselves. Joshua apologizes for the sudden visit and expresses his gratitude that she agreed to meet them. However, it wasn't their grand aunt's first time meeting them. She visited Mia, her niece and goddaughter, when she gave birth to the twins. Seeing their pale blue hair color and golden eyes, she embraces them. They truly are Mia's children. Their hardships sprint right back and they cry on her shoulders. Moments later, she tells the children to eat. She turns to Eugenia, empathizing with her hardships as crossing the border with the twins isn't easy. She gives her deepest gratitude. Eugenia then asks what will happen to the twins. The madam says she'll take care of them as they're the last of her bloodline. She further explains that they'll be staying as guests in the estate until her son, the head of the family, returns. Eugenia plans to stay with the kids until they can adjust to their new environment. She requests to return working to the laundry room, leaving the madam surprised. Doesn't she want a bigger reward? The madam grants her wish and allows her to leave. Apparently, the twins don't want her to leave, but she promises that she'll visit them tomorrow. The next day, she formally knocks on the twins' room. She goes in and asks the children how they're doing. The children seem to be gloomy. They admit that they wish Eugenia to treat them like before, casual and comfortable. Eugenia realizes that she may have been inattentive to their feelings. The formal treatment makes them uncomfortable. She takes a deep breath and apologizes to them, calling them by their nicknames. Their faces light up with joy and advise her to do her job well. Before she leaves, she advises the children to make a good impression on the Duke. Eugenia hurriedly returns to work, scrubbing piles of laundry. The gloves she's washing reminds her of Enrique. Seeing his face would ease her fatigue. Suddenly, a maid announces the master's return. She stands, but is pulled by the Lord Merlin's heir, ordering her to wash the sheets discreetly. She needs to greet the master, but has no choice but to obey the order. At the front entrance, the maids and butler greet the master, whispering about the special organization established just for him. The master they're greeting is actually Enrique. The butler informs Enrique that all the Branch family guests have arrived. Elbury follows behind Enrique and playfully asks how much days off he will receive. A month? A year? Enrique tells him to leave work and come back the next day. Is he serious? After that exhausting mission, he gets less than 24 hours? He tries to persuade him by kneeling down on the ground, but Enrique's attention is towards the butler. He demands the butler to bring him to his room after he visits his mother. Who is this him they're talking about? He greets his mother and checks on each other's well-being before sitting. Once they're seated, Enrique can familiarize the tea scent. It's similar to Eugenia's tea. His mother brings up Mia. She tells him that someone crossed the border with her children. The Duchy of Halrint should currently have closed their borders. He asks about their identities and if it's truly Mia's children. She explains that they share the same blue hair that only passes through their bloodline. She adds that the maid who accompanied them has an honest nature. A maid? Enrique wishes to see the maid and excuses himself. As always, he's hard to read. Outside of the estate, Leia calls Eugenia's attention and she demands that she'll follow her. The other maids tease her for her past mistakes, assuming she's getting into trouble. As they walk, Eugenia asks where they're going. Leia tells her that the master wishes to see her. The master? She begins overthinking the reason she might be in trouble. Leia tells her to go in alone, as the master specifically requested only her to enter. She enters nervously and bows her head, too afraid to see his face. A familiar voice speaks, saying it's not their first time meeting. She looks up, shocked. It's Enrique. She stutters as she greets him, and he offers her a seat. They discuss the twins. Eugenia explains that no one was left to take care of the Marquise Creighton's twins, so she took care of them and crossed the border. Funny how Enrique accompanied them without knowing. She pleads with Enrique to become their protector and shield. Enrique stands up and asks her if she knows what the Growth Assembly is. It's a gathering where all the Branch family showcase their abilities to become the heir of the ducal family. This means that the twins are new candidates. However, they pose a threat to Enrique's authority as head of the family, and peace of the heiress of the ducal family. He comes closer to Eugenia, demanding to know why he should take care of the children. Eugenia asks Enrique why he's choosing an heir from the Branch family when he's still so young, but Enrique can't explain his reasons. The Branch family supports his method of selecting an heir based on their abilities, but in this situation, it's certain they won't leave the children alone. He's right, the twins could be in danger. Eugenia argues. He won't let that happen, right? After all, he's the head of the ducal house. Allowing those who go against the decisions of the head would truly disrupt the peace of the Harris ducal family. Enrique points out her clever and quick-witted attitude, prompting him to consider the situation of the children. Hearing this, Eugenia jumps for joy and formally thanks him. Enrique asks her to call him by his name, and Eugenia reluctantly complies. Before leaving, she offers more mint tea to help him sleep, and they agree to deliver it secretly. He tells her to leave it where his black horse stays, and expresses her happiness in seeing him again. Enrique feels the same, and she takes her leave. Suddenly, the butler knocks on his door, bringing him into his office. He greets Enrique as Duke Harris and says he has much to discuss with him. So, this is the him they're talking about? But who is he? During tea with their grand aunt, Eugenia asks her why she called for her. She informs Eugenia that the twins are temporarily staying at the mansion until the growth assembly ends. She then asks what Enrique discussed with her. After a while, she informs Eugenia that she should consider herself as the twins' maid and speak on their behalf, and she reluctantly complies. Outside the children's door, she worries on how to tell the truth to the kids about her leaving. If she further stays, she might make mistakes and harm them. She enters their room, not noticing Eugenia had walked in. They seem to be busy talking about something. They jump, surprised to see Eugenia, and quickly say they're busy with Joshua's wormy handwriting. They tease each other, but Eugenia knows something is off. She brushes it off and asks Joshua to write her a letter. A letter? What for? She tells him that they might not see each other every day anymore. She tells them that the Duke is someone they know, the handsome man good at riding horses. What does this have to do with the letters? Joshua asks. Eugenia tells him that it's time to find a new job and conclude their contract. What does she mean by finalizing the contract? Is she leaving? Eugenia explains herself, but Joshua angrily shows her their contract, restating his terms and conditions. Escort them to the Duke of Harris household and ensure they meet a new guardian. Breaching the contract would result in a penalty of 1 million gold. Eugenia asks for clarification. Isn't their grand aunt already their guardian? Joshua informs her that things are still unclear, and only after his coming-of-age ceremony everything will be settled, meaning Eugenia is still their guardian. She didn't expect the kids to react so angrily. She validates their feelings and reassures them, asking them to discuss this matter next time. Sherry pleads with Eugenia not to leave. She promises she won't. Joshua begs for her patience until his coming-of-age ceremony, and he'll have her live in luxury and extravagance. Aw, Joshua may act harshly, but he's actually the sweetest. Eugenia chuckles and says goodnight. She takes a moment outside their door, realizing their resistance is stronger than what she had expected. She's all doing this for their sake. If they keep interacting with her, their reputation will suffer, especially since she's a wanted criminal. She walks through the dim hallways, imagining her life studying to become a pharmacist and running an herb shop. Next time she talks to the children, she'll be honest with them. For sure, they'll understand her reasons. They're wise despite their young age. The next day, Elbury sulks at Enrique for not giving him a break when all he's doing is staring at a window. He tries to call his attention, but it seems like he's ignoring him. Suddenly, Leia knocks and hands him documents that need his approval. He picks up a letter of resignation, wondering who it's from. Leia informs him that it's from Eugenia, asking her to pass it to him since it concerns the Creighton twins. His expression changes and tells her to put it on hold. The air feels tense, making Elbury and Leia leave his office. He stares at her resignation letter and crumples it. Why is she leaving after bringing the twins? He's unsure why the idea of Eugenia leaving bothers him. Enrique collects his thoughts. No one has ever cared for him the way Eugenia does. His well-being has always taken a back seat to both his family and the state. Until Eugenia, a woman he hasn't known for long, cares about him. He crumples the paper again, planning to keep her by his side. He doesn't want to lose her again. In the forest, Cyan calls Eugenia's attention from a tree, telling her he's been looking for her since it's been so long since they last met. He takes her braided hair and pulls it close to his face, asking how she's been. I'm now confused on who to ship, Cyan and Eugenia or Enrique and Eugenia. So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!